Hi everybody, my name is Gray and this is my work for the Survival exhibition for Swansea, University of Wales, Trinity St David. I am an aspiring illustrator, animator, author, toy designer and game maker who suffers from chronic decision paralysis. Currently my work is centred around character design and animation because that's what I enjoy doing most. But I'm hoping to greatly extend my range and portfolio over the next year or so. Even though that's probably going to be a lot of work. I've actually made a mini tutorial detailing how I do animatics, and since I have to show my process, I may as well put it here. So, this is how you make an animatic in my style. So basically when I want to animate something, I do that, but less awful. Some of you have probably already noticed, but my main software is Clipstudio Paint and I use that with my Wacom Cintiq. Outside of the digital world, I use an A5 notebook and whatever biro pen is nearest to me. So when it comes to my inspirations, I literally have so many that I can't count them all, and I've picked a small cross-section of them out here, but if I tried to put everything that inspires me into this video, we'd be here until next year, at the earliest. To start off, I'd like to talk about Regan Lynn, Hayley Newsome and Vivian Medrano, three people who I credit with inspiring me to pursue art as a career. So, fun fact about me, I get really nervous when I'm talking about artists I like, so if this part gets a bit stammery and rambly, that's probably why. I think the reason I like Ray's art so much is because she's everything I aspire to be as an artist and as a person. I like her art because it's very sparkly and dynamic, and it features a lot of the themes I tend to gravitate towards, like cute animals, and Pokemon, and magical girls. She's also charismatic and hilarious when making videos for YouTube, which is something I really aspire to. And her animations are extremely expressive, which I admire in any artist. Vivian Medrano is the creator of Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, which is an adult animated cartoon that does a lot of the heavy lifting in keeping me sane through the pandemic. With her super dynamic animation style and inspiring efforts to open her own studio, Vivzy Pop has inspired me since I first started watching animation on YouTube. Hell of a Boss is currently my favourite one of her projects. The humour really appeals to me with being so dark and crude, and I really enjoy the characters and their designs. Lavender Town's art was actually where everything started for me. I started watching her YouTube channel when I was about 15, and she was the first artist who ever really made me want to pursue art as a career. At the risk of sounding very creepy, I've watched most of her videos more than once, and some of them I can actually repeat the scripts to. She inspired me to go to art school, to learn how to become a character designer and really push my art skills, and I really owe her everything as an artist. So if she ever sees this, thank you for that. Her art has a super stylised western cartoon sort of look to it, and I've always found that really appealing. She also mostly draws pretty girls, and I mostly draw pretty girls, so there's a lot of crossover there. I really like the way she blends her traditionally cute and appealing style to horror subject matter. The sort of creepy cute mix really appeals to me, and I think that's part of why I related to her art so much in the first place when I was younger. Overall, her work's been such a massive influence on my life and my art that I really can't do any justice to it in a video this short. But I'm not going to make a whole video talking about it because that would be kind of weird and creepy. So I'm going to move on to my next source of inspiration, which is books and other media. So again, way too much stuff to talk about here, but I've narrowed it down to 3 things. The first of which is Monster High, which is generally what inspires my toy design and fashion side. Monster High is a fashion doll line by Mattel that focuses around, if you couldn't guess from the title, a high school for monsters. I enjoyed it immensely as a child, and now it inspires me as an adult and an artist, and I actually have a big collection of the dolls on my shelf behind me. I think my main attraction to the series came from the fact that it made horror tropes, which are things I would come to love, more accessible to very, very easily scared children like myself. It also has a lot of that pretty versus creepy aesthetic I was talking about with Lavender Town, so the writing was sort of always on the wall for me to go towards that sort of aesthetic in my own art. I also want to touch on 2 books that have inspired me as an artist, which is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman and Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. Neverwhere is my personal favourite Neil Gaiman novel. It's a fantasy story about a man who falls into the magical world below London. Whereas Only Ever Yours is a young adult feminist dystopia, and I've read it so many times that the cover has almost fallen off. It's an incredibly harrowing story that I don't want to spoil at all, so I can only really recommend that you go off and read it for yourselves. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the fashion movements that inspire my art. I adore drag as an art form and fashion movement, and I find watching RuPaul's Drag Race and following drag queens online is one of my biggest sources of inspiration. But I also really love the various styles that fall under the Harajuku umbrella, such as Decora and Lolita. I wouldn't consider myself a person who's particularly knowledgeable about fashion, but it's definitely a massive source of inspiration for me in my day-to-day life. With my year on the foundation course drawing to a close, I think it's time to reflect on my personal development throughout the year. While my art skills have definitely improved, I think the biggest change this year has been actually very personal. Until last year, I've struggled very badly with my health, a chronic illness and mental illness, and this year I was finally able to overcome that to a degree. For a long time I didn't think I'd actually ever be able to make it through a university course, and now I've done that, and quite well I think, so that's pretty amazing for me. I've stuck with it, I've made it to most of my classes, and I've even ended up making a short film, which would have been unthinkable for me to be able to do even just a year ago. I feel that my greatest achievements as an artist are definitely yet to come, because I've lost a lot of time to my illness and now I'm finally able to make up for all of that. So I'm really looking forward to what I'll be able to do in the next few years. I want to find my artistic voice, continue developing my skills and go into further education. And saying that with every confidence that I'll actually be able to do it and that I'll do it well is probably the biggest development I've had as a person this year. I want to end this video by saying thank you to all my amazing teachers and classmates. It's been a really hard year, but we did it! And I can't wait to see what all of you do in the future. Okay, this is Gray, signing off for now.